Welcome to Forever Home Van Build. I hope you enjoy our series. Hi, I'm probably, if we're talking days, maybe about 2 days in really with this van. Now for some of you that would be different in that your van might be quite new, doesn't need much work on the internals, or it may be that for some of you it's a builder's van and you need to strip it out and clean it and make good any sort of rust, and sort of reseal any holes that have been made in the floor. Now I've done that, so we're probably about 2 days in and you'll have seen those videos, so hopefully they're helpful. I'm at that stage now where we have cleaned it up, made good, and sound deadening is done on the panels that I know I'm going to keep as far as my layout is concerned. And the idea there was to make sure that as you're driving along, that those rattles become a little bit more dull and less prevalent, to make sure that it's a much better ride. Now the next step is insulation. Now I'm going to choose to do the sort of insulation regime that a lot of the YouTube videos do, and a lot of the builds that you see do. But it makes most sense. I've got the adhesive foam for the walls, and for the ceiling I will use Celotex or PIR. I'll then cover that foam on the walls with Celotex, and I will also Celotex the floor. Now with the floor, you'll have seen in the videos, we need some fixing points. We don't really want to be making holes in the floor, so there's going to be a lot of glue use, and also some wooden framing on the floor with Celotex in between. We'll get that all taped up, and then we'll board it. That'll be a great solid floor then for us for a start of 10. On walls, the sticky foam roll, very much to help with the dew points and condensation on the inner side of the van, inner skin. And again, I'll put some links in the video in order to sort of show you where to go to really sort of watch up on that. And then I'll use 50mm PIR on the walls, 25 in the floor, 25 in the ceiling to try and retain some head height, and we'll seal all that up with silver aluminium tape, and then a vapor barrier. So we'll talk about that in another video. Again, some people do it, some people don't, but I will show you what I'm going to do. But before I get to that, it's very much going to be about the installation, so watch this. So just to mention that during the strip out of the van, I took the opportunity to clean and sand the floor prior to painting over any sort of rusty-ish patches with some red oxide hammerite paint. And once that was dry, I then, as you can see, went over that with some silver hammerite metal paint in order to sort of finish entirely the floor. So steps for the floor prep: a good hoover and a brush, then sanded, then cleaned, then some red oxide paint, and let that dry overnight before to this stage. Okay, so what I'm trying to achieve here is I bought some 10mm foam, adhesive foam, and I'm trying to achieve essentially some support for the Celotex. Now Celotex is really good at supporting weight, but obviously in isolation, and particularly with these high points, you are going to get some flex and potentially some degradation over time. So, you know, ultimately what I'm trying to do here is, you know, provide some additional support for that Celotex, as that Celotex then sits over the top, and we can fix that down and it's all good. So this provides both some additional insulational properties, but also to help fill that void given these high points. Okay, so it's going to take a lot of cutting and slicing. Found a little sharp knife. Insulation's quite good in that it's got lots of squares on it, so easy to follow a line. And then doesn't have to be perfect. We are just talking about making sure that we're reducing down that span between those high points so that we get less flex, essentially. A standing knife, I probably could have done with one that was slightly sharper because it did snag sometimes, but seemed to be the best method. And then if you can see here, so what we're trying to achieve is just slightly higher, because of course, you know, it's sprung, and then therefore that gives us a really nice supporting structure for that PIR. So wood all cut, now need to Sikaflex it to the floor using the hard points as my fixing point, and then let it go off and we can screw it all together, make sure that it's all nice and tight before we insulate. So frame is all cut, ready to screw together. Just a couple of tips. So I'm using decking screws. Now you're looking for something that is a screw that's not got too much width, because it would crack the and split the wood. So I've gone for decking screws, but you can get them various thicknesses. And these are 4mm thick, 60mm long. I am going to use some 75mm also where I need to, but that should be ample to not split the wood. Wood's quite damp as well still, so if you were talking about using really dry wood, then you might have to pilot hole. The other thing to think about is the orientation of your ply. Now you know that your van is greater than the width of a sheet of ply, so you'd have to turn that ply to run essentially widthways backwards, and then the width of the ply 1220 millimeters versus the width of the length of 2440. So I've marked that line to make sure that my wood is on the centres, so I've got a nice supporting edge for when I screw down my ply, essentially, and then I'll work backwards from there. So just to give you an idea of what I'm trying to achieve, as I've got a little bit further now, so you can see here I've got 25mm Celotex. The frame that I'm starting to build and put together and establish is 2x1, so it's 25mm thick, which nicely lines up with the 25mm PIR. And just a little point to note is that these noggins are raised by about 8mm, and if you weren't going to use this and you were going to put your 2x1 or whatever other wood you're going to use for your framework to attach your ply to, I find it very difficult to match up that sort of widths. You can get 40mm and you can get 30mm, but you would need then therefore to use something a bit larger when it comes to the wood, and you might find that very difficult to match up those widths to give you that nice finish. Now here you can see that using this 10mm foam, which does have a little bit of give in it, that as I push on this Celotex, you can see that the support that offers is very good. However, if I did that here, and you can see that if I didn't use it, I'm going to get that level of flex. Now here, given that the span is only really so small, there's not enough to cause you any issues, particularly when you've got the integrity of the board. However, if you didn't use this, you would have some problems. So my method, my theory, is that this then gives you the support that you require so that you can match up these two widths and get a really nice flush floor surface once this is all filled in, to be able to then ply. So following on from putting the wooden slats onto the floor using the flexible glue, I'm now insulating. It's 25mm, so it's quite thin insulation. The reason for that is to maintain as much head height as possible, so 25 on the floor, 25 on the ceiling, and then we'll get a chance to put 50 into the walls. Given how it's so thin, it's easy enough just to score with a sharp Stanley, a bit like plasterboard. Saves all of the dust generated from a saw, so I find that's the easiest way. Quite quick, quite easy, and then we'll be able to tape it all up after to make sure that there's a continuous vapor barrier, insulation barrier, no movement, all that kind of stuff as it goes underneath the boards. So taping the floor, silver aluminium insulation tape. It comes on a roll of about usually 40 meters or so, and that's what I've got left, having done the floor. We will need more of this for the walls and the ceiling, and to be honest, probably any DIY retailer or probably somewhere like eBay or Amazon is a cheaper place to get it. That's 3-inch 75mm tape. I only use that because it was wide enough to do one strip along the floor, but you could use 50 or 25mm and do 2 strips. Probably more economic to use the wider, a bit quicker time wise. In order to fit the floor wood, we were probably looking at about 2 or 3 hours, using Celotex to stick it to the floor, then insulating using a knife, probably in the region of about 1.5 to 2 hours, then obviously taping maybe another half an hour. So that's sort of time scale you're looking at. You do need to let the Celotex go off, so try and time that for a point in time where that's the day before, or even 2 days before if you know you've not got time the next day, and then insulate after. And this is my technique I pretty much use if I'm insulating anything, house build, extension, kind of garden office, insulating, all that kind of stuff, using PIR. First bit, don't rip it off all the way, otherwise it just curls and becomes a big mess. So bit by bit, go off the backing, stick it down exactly where you want it. It's quite unforgiving, sort of thing. And you can simply, when you're done with that then, just tear it, force it down, super good. So the idea here is to provide that continuous vapor barrier, and we do that by making sure that we're taping any spacers between the Celotex, whether that's be damage or whether you need an additional strip of aluminium tape, just to make sure that continuous barrier is achieved, and then therefore you will need nothing else beyond that to keep the vapor away. Okay, so applying the adhesive, if you remember, I did place the supports for the flooring at, if you can see that now, it's 1220. So every board that you buy will be 1220mm by 2440. In regards to this fan, it's 3 sheets, so you're either putting your supports in the right place so that you've got them in the centres to support the 2 boards when they butt up to each other, and in this example I have got that here at 1220, and then you want that on the next one and you want that on the end, or if you choose to turn them and have them the other way, then cutting accordingly to make sure that you've got those supports in the right place. So that's what I will screw to. So we've got some wood here, so we'll screw to that, and to make sure that we keep the boards in place. But I also want to Celotex, but I'm not going to Celotex on the aluminium tape, because that has an adhesion, but it's not strong per se. So I'm just going to add some Celotex over the course of the whole of the board, just to make sure that we're keeping it in place and bringing all of that together with the structural board, if you like, or the board that adds then a level of structure to this area, and stiffness that then you'll build on top of and walk on. So it's really important that you try and bring that all together at this stage to get it as strong as possibly can. You don't have to use Celotex, but that adds to the cohesion of the whole surface. Great stuff. Really recommend you get this for everything that you do in the van, if I've not mentioned it already. It's an adhesive sealant and filler, as you can see, but it stays permanently elastic, so it helps with the movement of the van. you really need that. You can't just use maybe like a no more nails or something like that, because it just doesn't have the flexibility, even though it has the adhesion. Something that has the flexibility to be able to cope with the movement of the van is really important. Now, to use it, just got to put an hole in the end. Okay, quick push with the screwdriver, make a hole, and then you're ready to go as per normal sort of tubular adhesives. Okay, so that's episode 2 done. The floor structure. So grateful for you continuing to watch. Thanks for sticking with the video. I know I probably repeated myself or bounced around a little bit. Note to self, must do better. Okay, but hopefully that's of some use, and you've been able to take something from it. If you do like it, then please let me know. And also, why not follow? I've got loads of content coming for you to be able to see the rest of the van build, and hopefully that's again equally of interest to you. But thanks again.